and welcome to our tie-dye video. You should all have one of these packs with you at home. In this video I'm going to show you how to do two different styles of tie-dye. The stripe effect and the spiral. Your pack only comes with one bag, so have a think now of which design you'd like to do. So let's see what's inside. Okay, so first of all we've got our bag. Now it's a little bit creased, but don't worry, when we do our tie-dye it's going to get even worse. Here we have a little bag with some bits in. We do need to keep our bag, so let's put that to one side. Here we have an apron, some gloves. Should have 6 elastic bands, a pipette, and you should have 4 bottles. Now each one contains a different colour dye. We're going to add water to those in a minute to see what colours we've got. We have our messy mat, our contents and safety information, a bit of information for the grown-ups, and some fun facts about tie-dye. We have our instructions, including the spiral design and the stripe design. We have a fun I Spy game, and we have our colouring in sheet. I have put down a protective cloth over my table here. If you have a tablecloth or maybe some newspapers at home, it would be a good idea to protect your surfaces. Then place your messy mat on top. Okay, next take your apron and pop that on to protect your clothes. And you can tie it up around the back. Okay, the first thing you want to do is take your bag and you want to soak it in some water. Make sure you wring all the water out so it's just a bit damp and it's not soaking wet. So we're going to do the stripe pattern first. So after you've wrung out your bag and it's all wet, lay it flat. And I'm going to start at this top end with the handles, just fold those in. Okay, and you're going to fold, then bring it back and fold again. And flip it and fold again. And keep doing this until you reach the end of the bag. And just make sure to tuck in the handles as you go. Okay, and then you should have all those pleats like this. So, holding that secure, take your elastic bands and you want to secure along the bag. Now I'm going to do the ends first just to make sure it's really tight and the bag isn't going anywhere. So like this. And the other end. Alright, if your bag handles fall out, just tuck them back into the pleats. Okay, and we're going to secure this middle bit now. You can put on as many bands as you want. The more bands you use, the more stripes you have. Try to make the bands quite tight, don't have them too loose. There we go. So they don't have to be perfect, see the gaps here are not equal. You can make it equal, you can make it uneven. It's completely up to you. It's all about your imagination and creativity. Okay, but that's the kind of look that I have gone for. Okay, so next we want to take our gloves out of our packet because we're going to start making the dye. Each pack has 4 dye bottles. Now each of the packs have different colours and each of the 4 in your packet should all be different as well. So I'm going to use 2 different colours to show you how to make the stripes, but you can use 1, you can use all 4, it's totally up to you. But I'm going to show you how to mix the dye now, so do make sure you've got your gloves on and you're going to need some water and your pipette. Okay, so let's take, what's a good one? So this one's got quite a dark powder in it. I think it's maybe a blue or a purple or a green. So let's open it up. So take your lid off. and you'll see it's got this little dropper lid here. So you just need to take this off, so just pull it. So I think this one's green, let's find out. So take your pipette, and to get the water in it, you want to squeeze inside the water and release, and you'll see that the water goes inside. You want to then pour your water into your bottle. Now you might need to do this a few times until the bottle is full. So this is my third one. And 4. And maybe a little bit more. 4, maybe 4.5, maybe 4.25. Take your dropper lid and pop that back on the top. Then take your lid and put that over the top. Make sure that's screwed on very tightly. And then you're going to hold it like this and give it a good shake. Okay, yep, that is a green one. So that's a lovely green colour. Right, I think this one's yellow, so I'm going to make a yellow and green striped bag. So again, you take your top off, take off the dropper, put it down, bring back your water and your pipette, and pop your water in. Now this can get very messy, so be very gentle when putting your water in. So put the dropper back on, put your lid on, and give it a nice big shake to make sure that the dye and the water are all mixing up here. There we go, so we've got yellow and green. So let's put the other two to one side, and we're going to use those to show you the other design. Okay, so let's start with the yellow. Take your lid back off, and what I'm going to do is we'll do that green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green. Okay, so take your bottle and start on one side and just squeeze and let the dye fall on the bag in your sections where your elastic bands are. Don't worry about the size, we're going to come to it. Now don't squeeze too much, you want to make sure you've got enough dye to do all your sections. There we go, so I've done one side so far. You can see the yellow sections here. So then you want to turn it to the side and repeat. Make sure you get in all the creases. Now what you don't want to see is you don't want to see much of the natural bag colour. Now the reason you want to make sure that your bag's nice and wet when you put the dye on is so that the dye can be absorbed by the bag. If the bag's dry when you start putting the dye on, it won't absorb very well, it'll all run off. So turn it over again and just squeeze your dye on in all your sections. It doesn't have to be too neat. The magic of tie-dye is that it's very creative, very messy, and there are no mistakes. Now you all might be a little bit too young for this, but some of you may have heard of a great painter called Bob Ross. And if you have, he always says, there are no mistakes, there's only happy little accidents. And I think that's true. You don't make any mistakes with tie-dye, just happy accidents. There we go. So you can see all the yellow sections I've done here. And that goes all the way around. So now let's use the green to fill in the other gaps. Okay, so you can see we've got our yellow here, here and here. And now we're going to use the green and colour in the remaining sections. So let's take off our lid and just squirt your dye onto your sections. Don't forget to do the ends as well, just to make sure you've got that full coverage. Okay, so when you're finished, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. keeping your gloves on, you want to take your plastic bag and place, you might have to fold it in half, your bag inside. Okay, so now let's show you how to do the spiral design. Again, make sure your bag is wet, but not too wet, and lay it flat. You want to pinch in the middle of your bag, like this. And what you want to do is slowly twist in either direction to start making a swirl. So flatten the bag as you do this and keep twisting into your swirl. And you can even fold your bag down in places to keep it quite tight here. So keep twisting and twisting. You can even pick it up now and slowly bring the edges round. So you should have a twisted shape like this. Then take your elastic bands and wrap it all up. You may want to start with one around the edge to keep it all in place, and then do your elastic bands all around to make it really secure. And again, you don't have to use all of your elastic bands. You may want to just divide it into 4 sections. You may want to do a few more. I'm happy with just using the 3 elastic bands, so a cross shape and then a round. So we want to make our die again. Take off your lid and your dropper. Take your pipette and drop your water in. Pop your lid on and give it a nice big shake. So we've got red in this one. And this one, I'm not too sure. Let's find out. Take the lid off and the dropper. Looks like there's blue. Give it a nice shake, and we've got blue. So our spiral bag is going to be red and blue. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You can put your die all over the bag in any order you want and make it very random, or you can do it section by section. So I think I'm going to try and do it section by section. So let's take the blue. And let's take our red and do all of the remaining sections. Alright, there we go. So when it's finished, it should look a bit like this. So you can see I've used alternating colours of blue and red across the whole bag. You want to take your clear bag again and pop it in there and seal it. I'm going to put mine in the same bag I used earlier because I don't mind my bags mixing up. There's no special reason for using the plastic bag, it's just to make sure the dye doesn't get on your surfaces or your clothes or your hands. If you're doing this at home and you don't have a clear bag, you could wrap it in tin foil, or you could just leave it out in the open as long as it's not touched while it's still wet. Okay, so then next comes the bit of the boring bit, I'm afraid. Once it's all in the bag, you need to leave it for about 6 to 8 hours for the bag to really absorb all the dye. If you can, try and leave it overnight, and that is the perfect time for you. Once your time is up, you can take it out of the bag and you want to cut off all your elastic bands. Unravel your bag, so pop it in a bowl of water or in the bath and just give it a bit of a rinse to get rid of some of that excess dye. Once the water runs clear, it's good to give it a wash in the washing machine. Make sure you don't put anything else in the machine, just in case any of the dyes do run. It can be a short cycle or a long cycle, hot or cold. It shouldn't make any difference to your bag. Now once it is dry, it's going to look quite creased, so you probably do want to give it an iron to flatten it all out. We do recommend that for the first few washes that you do, try to wash it on its own, just in case some of that ink still runs. I hope you enjoyed doing some tie-dye with us today. I'd love to see some of your designs, so if you can share whether you did the stripe design or the spiral design, it would be really great to see. If you did enjoy this video, I hope to see you along on the next one.